Okay, remember the map that I showed you guys yesterday? The Assyrians had come into the kingdom of Israel, also known as Samaria, but they've actually come as far as the kingdom of Judah, and they're besieging Jerusalem. And so in 2 Kings 18, we read about how the representative of the king is threatening not only the representatives of the Judean king, uh, who is Hezekiah. He's talking to them, but he's also talking to the people along the wall that fortifies Jerusalem. And they beg him, please speak in Aramaean, because they can speak Aramaean, both groups, the Assyrians and these educated or these particular members of the king's representatives from Judea. But the people along the wall don't understand Aramaean, or at least not that well. So don't speak in Hebrew, please, because if you speak in Hebrew, they'll hear you too, and they're going to get terrified because the representatives of the king of Assyria are saying, you're through, give up, or we're going to besiege you and you will end up eating your own excrement and drinking your own urine because we will starve you to death and you won't have anything to eat or drink. And do you really think that we're acting without the authority of your God? Nobody else has been able to stop us. Give up. There's no hope. The people hear this along the wall. They don't say anything, but then the representatives of Hezekiah tear their clothes and go to the king Hezekiah and say, this is what we have in store for us. So it looks as though the southern kingdom is going to fall in 721 BC as the northern kingdom has, or 721 thereabouts. But I want to look really quickly at the gospel, the short little reading that we had today, and tie it in with something else. And he said, thus is the kingdom of God, as if a man should cast the seed upon the earth, and should sleep and rise up night and day, and the seed should sprout and grow, he does not know how. The earth bears fruit of itself, first the blade, then an ear, then full corn in the ear. But when the fruit is produced, immediately he sends the sickle, for the harvest is come. I believe this parable only appears in the gospel according to St. John. The kingdom of God, these are among the parables of Jesus about the mystery of the kingdom of God. Because the kingdom of God isn't just heaven, angels, and floating around playing harps. It's much more profound and present than that. And in this case, Jesus ties it in. The kingdom of God is like seeds that grow into plants on their own accord. The mystery of the seed. Elsewhere, the kingdom of God is compared to a mustard seed, the smallest among the seeds that becomes the largest of all plants, so large that birds build their nests in it. But here it's just the question of growth. In 1 Corinthians, St. Paul uses a similar image. He says here at the beginning, he's talking to the Corinthians who are arguing among themselves. For while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal? They're saying, I'm with Paul's team, I'm on Apollos's team. They're arguing the way people argue about things like the Mass today. Who then is Paul, says Paul to the Corinthians, and who is Apollos? But ministers by whom ye believed, even as the Lord gave to every man. I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but God that giveth the increase. Paul is trying to say, don't be split into factions following either Paul or Apollos. It's about God. I planted, Apollos watered. In other words, I established this church in Corinth. Apollos came along and cultivated you, gave you instruction. But the growth of this church in Corinth, the growth into people of Christ, this mysterious spiritual growth is from God. I have planted, Apollos has watered, but God has given the increase. This mysterious growth comes from God. And think about farming. Some of you live on farms, you homeschool students, and you know there's a huge amount of work preparing the soil, planting the seeds, and then harvesting the seeds. But the growth, the mystery, the magic, as it were, doesn't come from us. We do the work, but the growth comes from God. And the kingdom of God, Jesus says, is like that. It's like seed that turns into a full plant, which is eventually harvested. There is an end to this and an end times. That's the mystery. Think about that. Remember, you're going to give me a comment or a question, but also think about how terrifying it must have been to be on the wall in Jerusalem and listen to the representative of the king of Assyria say, "We've already destroyed Samaria, the kingdom of Israel. You're next. And we've destroyed all these other kingdoms. This is the Syrian Empire, the Assyrian Empire. You're next. And you're going to depend upon God, your God, to protect you. He's on our side, not on yours." Imagine how terrifying that must have been. But also think about the mystery of growth. God gave the increase, and how the kingdom of God is like a growing plant. There's a mystery to all of this.